US signs $400 million Scandium loan for Australia mine in $3 billion minerals push. Washington's financing could help establish the first primary scandium mine as the U.S. seeks alternatives to Chinese-controlled processing and supply chains. By ibtimes. An aerial view of a mine. The U.S. signs a $400 million conditional loan for Australia's Scandium Scandium project as Washington expands its $3 billion critical minerals push. Pexels. The U.S. Department of War has committed $400 million to Australian mining company Sunrise Energy Metals to advance its Scandium Scandium project in New South Wales, placing the specialty metal at the center of Washington's effort to build critical mineral supply chains outside China. The Office of Strategic Capital OSC structured the funding as a conditional loan commitment, meaning Sunrise must satisfy additional financial, legal, technical and other requirements before the financing reaches financial close. The OSC said in its announcement that its critical minerals financing is intended to address vulnerabilities in U.S. national security supply chains. The commitment was announced alongside a broader $3 billion U.S. investment package covering critical mineral and battery projects, according to President Donald Trump's August 7 announcement. The package includes a separate $1.4 billion conditional loan for Sila Nanotechnologies and a $150 million conditional loan for Naran Magnetics. Why Scandium matters to defense manufacturing. Scandium is used as an alloying element in aluminum to produce lightweight, high-strength materials that can be used in aerospace and defense applications. The U.S. Department of War has previously identified scandium as a critical material for defense manufacturing. In August 2025, the department said scandium aluminum alloys were increasingly replacing conventional aluminum and titanium alloys in some defense applications because of their lightweight and high-strength characteristics. The department also said in 2025 that substantially all current scandium production was occurring in China, underscoring Washington's concern about the limited number of independent supply sources. That supply concentration has already prompted U.S. government investment in domestic scandium production. The Department of War awarded $29.9 million to Element U.S. Minerals in November 2025 to develop a facility capable of recovering gallium and scandium from industrial waste. Scandium targets primary scandium production. Sunrise's Scandium project is designed to produce scandium directly from a primary mining operation rather than relying on recovery as a byproduct of another mineral. The company's March 2026 disclosure said Sunrise had previously secured a U.S. Export-Import Bank letter of interest for up to $67 million in financing support, alongside cooperation with Export Finance Australia. The project is also backed by a planned Australia U.S. supply relationship with Lockheed Martin. Sunrise said in October 2025 that Lockheed received an option to purchase the first 15 metric tons of scandium oxide produced annually during the first 5 years of mining, or up to 75 metric tons over the 5-year period. The option represents approximately 25% of Scandium's forecast annual production, according to Sunrise's announcement. The arrangement remains an option rather than a completed long-term binding purchase contract. Washington builds a broader critical minerals network. The Sunrise financing follows several U.S. government investments aimed at reducing exposure to concentrated foreign mineral supply chains. In June, the OSC announced a $725 million conditional loan commitment to Energy Fuels for a U.S. rare earth separation and metallization facility. The agency said the investment was intended to strengthen domestic access to materials used throughout the industrial base. The OSC also committed $500 million to Phoenix Tailings in June for expanded rare earth production and a new U.S. separation and metallization facility. The Department of War's fiscal 2027 budget documents show the scale of the broader strategy. the department requested $48.7 billion for critical minerals initiatives, including funding for domestic production, processing, recycling and the national defense stockpile. The request also includes $20 billion for the OSC loan program. Australia becomes a key allied supply partner. The Firestone financing gives Washington access to a potential scandium source located in Australia rather than relying solely on new U.S. mines. Sunrise's agreement with Lockheed Martin was established specifically to develop an Australia U.S. scandium supply chain, with qualification and testing intended to accelerate the use of scandium-containing components in Lockheed's products. That arrangement links the project to an established U.S. defense contractor before commercial production begins, while the new OSC financing provides additional capital for development. The investment also fits the Department of War's broader strategy of working with allies to secure minerals needed for defense production. The department has said China's control over multiple critical mineral supply chains represents a strategic vulnerability for the U.S. industrial base. Commercial scale remains the next test. The $400 million commitment does not mean the Firestone mine is already producing scandium. The financing remains conditional, and Sunrise must satisfy the requirements needed to reach financial close. The Lockheed Martin arrangement is similarly structured as an option to purchase future production rather than a guarantee that the defense contractor will buy all 15 metric tons annually. If Sunrise completes development and reaches production, Firestone could provide a new primary source of scandium for an allied supply chain linking Australian mining with U.S. defense manufacturing. The project therefore gives Washington another potential buffer against concentrated foreign supply while giving Australia a larger role in the emerging critical minerals network.